My name is Rachel Dworkin. I'm the archivist at the Chemung County Historical Society. Welcome to our panel discussion. Tonight we will be discussing the Chemung County's Black Oral History Project. From 1989 to 1991, we conducted a series of interviews with 22 members of the African American community in Elmira, discussing a range of issues. Tonight we'll be listening to some clips from those interviews and then discussing them. With me on the panel are
Michele Johnson. I am the CEO of YWCA Elmira and the Twin Tiers.
Georgia Verdier, and I'm president of the Elmira-Corning branch of the NAACP.
Dr. Jimmie Williams, retired from Corning Incorporated. I am also vice president of the NAACP.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya McGee, and I am currently a member of the executive board of the NAACP.
Hi, I'm Talima Aaron. I'm the president of the board of trustees for the John W. Jones Museum.
And this is from Edna Taylor. And Edna Taylor grew up in Florida and came here in the 1940s.
Did you vote when you came to Elmira?
When I first came here, I did. Because really, I didn't know anything about voting, you know. And so then somebody was talking to us, and you should register to vote. And so I did. So I was Republican. Then I switched over to Democrat.
Why did you switch?
Well, I just thought I had a feeling that the Democrats could get more done. And so this is my reason.
You said that you didn't vote where you came from.
No, I didn't vote. In fact, nobody never encouraged it. So I didn't know anything about voting.
Okay, were any Black people in your area where you came from, did they vote?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
So I don't remember anything about it.
And so your family probably, did they vote?
Never vote. No.
So you were the first to vote?
The first one to vote, yes.
Did your husband vote?
Yes, he voted.
Were you involved in any activities during the civil rights period?
No, only belonged to the NAACP meeting. That's all.
When did you first join the NAACP?
I don't remember the year. I really don't. The year that was when I joined.
Did you participate in any of the marches that were here? I know there were a couple of marches that took place in Elmira. Did you participate in any during the 60s?
During the 60s, yes, I marched. I remember marching.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, how you felt?
Well, I just felt like it was for a good cause, and I wanted to march, you know, and so we marched. I'm not sure, but I think it started at the neighborhood house. Okay, is where we marched.
And where did you go from the neighborhood house?
From the neighborhood house, somewhere around the city, we went.
Do you remember?
I didn't.
I'm sorry.
But during that time, you know, you just took it as just doing something, you know, you didn't take it too seriously. But you was just following the crowd, more likely, you know. This is what I was doing. But as, you know, of course, I was young, too, you know. And since I'm older now, I say I should have taken more notes of everything.
So that was Edna Taylor talking about becoming involved in voting and civil rights activism.
Well, guys, excuse me for always opening my mouth first, but Edna is so precious and so dear to my heart. She's a 98-year-old queen, and a queen and an activist. I've known her for many years, and Edna been out there on the move ever since I can remember, and an activist, just being a part of making a difference. And we honored her in September with a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I'm just so proud to know her. She is a trailblazer, and she just gives you hope in terms of and motivation and determination. If 98-year Edna can stay on the battlefield, that sends a message to me that we don't have any other option to but be out there and try to make a difference. And I'll let somebody else talk some about her too. Okay.
Okay, thoughts? Talima,
Well,
oh, yes, Jimmie.
you mentioned political parties. In the Elmira area, most Blacks were a Republican, and they were very active in voter registration and ward bosses for Elmira. The other thing was, it was around the 1940s, going into the 50s, it's when the Elmira area became mostly Democratic for some reason. So there was a strong Republican presence. And so people were active in voting back then. So I could see when Edna moved to the area that she became involved in voting. I've only met Edna a couple times. I don't know much about her, but I can see the influence in the area during the time that she first moved to the Elmira area, so that she became more politically involved. There were people in NAACP went to the march in Washington. There was a couple of marches in Elmira. So the people were very active politically in Elmira for civil rights.
Okay. So Talima, I know that you had marched during this past summer. Can you sort of maybe talk about that march and comparing it to earlier activism, if you know anything about earlier activism?
Well, probably I could just speak to the fact that, you know, I'm a certain age, so I was alive during the 60s and 70s. That is about it. I did attend the march here. I was really excited to see that we had a concentrated effort to be a part of something that was so important. I think Michele was there. I don't know if Tanya were there, but the march here really impressed me because it was a large group of people of one mind, one purpose, and they really got together to do something that was positive and to vote with their feet. So, and the fact that it was being led by young people was extremely encouraging. That was very, very important, and it was very visible that this was a youth movement, and they kind of propelled the momentum. So yeah, as far as what happened in the 60s and 70s, at that time, I was very, very young. And most of the activism was really strong from the South. You know, I grew up in New York City. So things were happening, and I'd hear it at my church or in the community, or I'd hear the adults speaking, and you see some things. But when I talk to like my mother-in-law who's from Florida, and I hear about what they did at the colleges in the South really pushed the civil rights movement forward for us. They were the face of civil rights. So I experienced it a lot like the rest of America by watching some of the coverage on TV, and again, listening to the adults talk.
And I just weigh in a minute on what Talima was saying, Rachel. One thing she mentioned this time, and yeah, I know a lot about the marches before, how they laid the foundation for today and how our young people are building on it. But, and many people heard me say this before, I'm so thankful for COVID. You know, COVID is supposed to be negative, but I'm thankful because it permitted the young people to take the lead for 2020. And it was their time. And if COVID had not been here, as they call us now, the old hats would have been out there leading the march. And I don't think we would have generated the same rainbow coalition that the young people were able to generate. So I'm so thankful that they were out there, and not only being out there, but they're saying enough is enough. We want to make a difference. And I'm still hearing from some of those young people saying, sign me up. I want to do something. I've been outside looking in the window. Now I want to come in the house and help make a difference. So walk with us, teach us, help strengthen us in terms of us running for office and coming to the table and making a difference. So I am thankful that the young people led the way during 2020. And I believe we're going to see that continue. Yes, the older folks are going to be back supporting them and helping them in any way we can, but they are motivated, they are energized, and they're ready to go. So we're saying, let's help equip them to be the movers and shakers of the future.
Okay. Does anyone want to talk a little bit about voting? Within this past year, the African American voting bloc just, won Georgia and really like flipped the electorate. Can we talk a little bit about how voting patterns in the African American community have changed, and also about the effort for voter suppression that's happening right now on the other side of that?
I'll mention that it's no longer a grandfather clause, for voter suppression. Like now you see strict voter ID laws, you see polling consolidation, voter purging, the list goes on. So I think it takes a specific effort, like how we saw Stacey Abrams and how she advocated for the state of Georgia. It takes efforts like that to really engage the community and educate the community as well.
And going back to what Tanya was saying about voter registration, we saw a greater turnout and this time than we've seen in years. Yes, it was education, it was motivation and all, but as I said on another program, I don't want hate to take us to the polls. I want us to be motivated because we're educated. We know what these politicians, how they impact our lives. We want to educate folks better on how your local politicians impact your lives, how the census count impacts your community. We want them to know, because if people can identify with why they are voting and factor that in, they might be more motivated to do it. But if they don't know their politician and they don't know the impact of their behavior, they just, because I talk to a lot of people say, I've never voted and I never will. Yeah, and we want to motivate them, but we don't want the country to be in a state of craziness, for lack of a better term, for folks to go to the polls and vote. I would like to see what we saw this past election year. I would like to see that ongoing, but not going out of what kind of climate we were in, if you will, but out of a more normal climate. But they're having the desire to vote because they know what voting means in terms of how the leaders that they put in office will impact their lives.
I think the African American community has also always had a torturous type relationship with voting. We fought hard to get it. We were the last to win it. We got disenfranchised about the impact of our vote, while other forces, as Tanya brought up, were trying to suppress the vote, so forth and so on. I think the current state of the nation kind of drove us there, and strong leadership like a Stacey Abrams helped get us to the polls. But I think it's always been important to our community to get out the vote. I believe NAACP, don't you do an ongoing voter registration? This is not new to us this year.
We do it. We at 24/7. You can vote. You can sign up through. We can work with you through the year. Yeah. We are pushing for voter registration 24/7. In fact, we have more going on the state and the national level, because that's where the numbers are and the politicians that are in the higher echelons of government are. But yeah, we keep that going all the time. People still need to be educated about it. No matter whether we are into a political forum right now or not, they need to be get ready for the next layer on the next level, so that they will be ready when we have our next primaries or whatever we're going to be having. Yeah, Talima, it's ongoing. And if whenever you are in an arena where you can help educate and motivate, we say go for it.
And we made the difference on this particular election this year. We saw the strength in our numbers, and I think that will propel us forward to encourage others to say, yes, your vote does count. We saw the impact, and I don't think it'll be difficult to get people to the polls again. Like Georgia said, we just need education about the candidates and the process, but we definitely show that we have a voice, and collectively we can make a difference. So that happened.
Okay.
one of the things we saw at this last election was the southern states, the blacks in the southern states really came out to vote. And they're seeing that their votes really make a difference because many times they felt that their votes were not counted and that it did make a difference. But I think this will motivate particularly southern states to get out and vote at every election because it really does, your vote really does count and make a difference. You can see what happened in Georgia. We got two senators from Georgia from the Democratic Party, which is something that would never happen if the black vote didn't really come out and support the candidates.
Okay. Anything else anyone would like to add? Thank you all for participating.